Welcome to our elimination review. So same deal as yesterday, we're going to do 1 and 2 together. If you're feeling confident, do 3 and 4 on your own without looking, and then check to see if your answers are the same as mine. If I'll do 3 and 4 with you. So let's get started. Elimination is another method that we've talked about when we are solving systems of equations. And we know we're going to use elimination when the x's line up and the y's line up. So yesterday you saw y equals in one of the equations. Here it's not the case. The x's, the y's line up, and the numbers without a variable line up. So our job is to eliminate one of them. So to do that, we are either going to add or subtract the equations. So looking at my x's, I can't eliminate my 2 and my 3, but I have a positive 4 and a negative 4, and I know those are opposites. So I know that they add to give me 0. So if I add these two equations, my y's should cancel. So when I add them, I have to add each piece. 3x plus 2x is 5x. 4 plus negative 4, well, they go away. Negative 2 plus negative 8, that is negative 10. Okay. So now I need to get x by itself. Well, that's super easy. I'm just going to divide by 5. I get x equals negative 2. All right, but just like yesterday, we have our x. We also need to find our y because that means it's going to cross at a point. So to find y, we need to pick either the top equation or the bottom. I don't like subtraction, so I'm going to pick the top. You can pick the bottom if you want and see if you get the same answer. So I have 3x plus 4y equals negative 2. Now I'm replacing my x with a negative 2, so I have 3 times negative 2 plus 4y equals negative 2. All right, 3 times negative 2, that's negative 6, plus 4y equals negative 2. Now I can just drop my line and solve this two-step equation. So I'm going to drop my line through the equals. I have this negative 6 over here, the opposite of subtracting 6. I want to add 6 to both sides. So when I do that, these go away, and I'm left with 4y equals negative 2 plus 6 is 4. Divide each side by 4. I'm left with y equals 1. So remember, your final answer is the point x comma y. So for this one, it's going to be negative 2 comma 1. And that is our final answer. Okay, so remember, there's no shame in using a calculator for these pieces. I actually really encourage it because a lot of times when you're working through elimination problems, you're dealing with a lot of negative integers, negative numbers. Okay, so really grab a calculator, please. Okay, let's look at number 2. Number 2 is different from number 1. Number 1, as well as all of the odd numbers, the numbers on the left-hand side of your paper all the way through, both front and back, have it where you can either add or subtract the equations to get a variable to cancel. 2 is different because if I look, I have a 3 and my hidden number in front of my x is a 1 here. I can't cancel a 3 and a 1. I have a 2 and a hidden negative 1 there. I can't cancel those either. So that means I'm going to have to multiply the bottom equation by something to get it to cancel with the top. So looking at the bottom, I think I'm going to multiply this by 2. And the reason why is because if I have a 2 here and a negative 2, I can add the equations and get them to cancel. If you want, you could multiply the bottom by 3. But if you multiply the bottom by 3, you'd have to subtract the equations to get my 3 and the 3 here to cancel. So either way would work. I'm going to work with 2. So 2 times 1 is 2x. 2 times negative 1 is negative 2y equals, now remember, 2 times 17, that's going to be 34. So now that I have that equation over here, I'm going to write both equations next to each other, lined up so that I can go ahead and add them to get rid of my y's because 2 plus negative 2 gives me 0. So when I add them, I have 3 plus 2, which is 5x. My y's are going to go away. Negative 9 plus 34. Be careful. Negative 9 plus 34 is the same as 34 minus 9, which is 25. To get x by itself and divide both sides by 5, I get x equals 5. So there is going to be a solution for this one. So now my job is to pick one of the equations to plug in x being 5. Now the bottom one looks a lot nicer than the top one, so I'm going to pick the bottom one. So to find my y, I'm going to go x minus y equals 17. X is 5, so I have 5 minus y equals 17. When I drop my line through the equal sign, I'm going to subtract 5 from both sides because I want to get y all by itself. Now be careful, I'm left with a negative y here. So I have negative y equals 17 minus 5, which is 12. I have a negative y, which is really a negative 1y, so the opposite of multiplying by negative 1 is dividing by negative 1, and you're left with y equals negative 12. So I have 5 comma negative 12, and that is the answer to the system. So that means these two lines are going to cross at the point 5, negative 12. Okay, so remember, all the ones on the left already have it where you can cancel something out. The ones on the right, you're going to have to change one of the equations by multiplying in order to get something to cancel. Okay, so if you're feeling confident, do 3 and 4 on your own. Make sure to go to the end of the video to make sure that your answers match mine. If you're still a little nervous, go ahead and continue watching. All right, so let's look at number 3. Number 3, I have 2x and 2x, 4y and 4y. Well, to get rid of 2 and 2, if I add them, 2 plus 2 gives me 4. That's not going to cancel. So I'm going to have to subtract them. So when I subtract these two, I have 2 minus 2. Well, that goes away. That's 0. 4y minus 4y. That's 0. So over here, I'm left with 0 equals. Now be careful. This is where integers come in. 10 minus negative 10. 10 minus negative 10. But when I look at that, that's really minus negative is a positive. So 10 plus 10 is 20. So I have that 0 equals 20. Shh, Red. I'm sorry, guys. My dog seems to like to whine today. So 0 equals 20. Well, that's not true. So that means there's going to be no solution. And remember, it's okay to have one, none, or infinite solutions when we're working through these problems. Okay? All right, now let's look at number 4. Number 4, if I look at first glance, my x's will not cancel because they're not the same. My y's will not cancel because they're not the same. So now I need to figure out which one I want to get rid of. Well, 4 and 3, they really don't go into each other, but I can multiply 3 by something to give me 6. So when I'm looking here, I can multiply 3 by 2 to get me 6, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. So when I multiply it by 2, I'm going to get 8x. 2 times 3 is 6y. 2 times 80 is 160, Mrs. Wall. So I multiplied the whole top by 2, and then the bottom I'm going to keep the same. So now because I have 6y and 6y, I can subtract them to figure out what I'll get my x to be. So 8 minus 3 is 5x. 6 minus 6 goes away, equals 160 minus 90. That's going to give me 70. Okay, so now I have to divide both sides by 5. And when I do that, 70 divided by 5 is 14. So I have that x equals 14. So that means that there is going to be a solution. So now my job is to find y. Red, calm down, baby. So let's look. To find y, I'm going to pick one of these. Which one am I going to work with? Let's do the top one because the numbers are smaller. So I have 4x plus 3y equals 80. My x is 14, so I'm going to plug it in. 4 times 14 plus 3y equals 80. Well, 4 times 14 gives me 56, so I have 56 plus 3y equals 80. This is just a two-step equation. To get rid of my 56, I'm going to subtract it from both sides. I'm left with 3y equals 80 minus 56 is 24. To get y all by itself, I'm going to divide both sides by 3. I get that y equals 8. So the point where these are going to cross is 14, 8. And that's my final answer. Okay, so remember when you're eliminating, you want to get rid of one of the variables, either x or y, and then you need to find the other one in order to have a point. Remember, it is possible to have none, one, or infinitely many solutions. So your job now is to go onto the back and do these 6 questions. And remember, you have a Schoology quiz that you will input those answers on, okay? All right, so before I go, really quickly, I just want to have you take a cute look at my puppy Red. Red. There she is. She's freaking out because her brother's outside right now. And she's stuck inside. You good girl. She's a good girl. All right. Hope you had fun. I'll show this to you one more time. Whoop. All right. Talk to you later. Bye.